I'm the voice. This is Divi Community Updates, episode 29. I'm just going to let you know all the views I expressed today are my own. How's it going, guys?
I guess that's true for me too.
Oh,
yeah, I think it is always the case.
Yeah.
But I think you say that because we will talk about the SEC's Project Crypto, and I mean the whole thing is the commissioner, like the leader of that. I don't know what's his role, but basically the CEO of that agency, and he's south by this is his views. Like he expressed his own views. And
he said that too. So it's Paul Atkins, by the way, is the SEC chairman.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the other thing is, while that's always true, we are generally pretty smart guys, and we care, and we spend time researching stuff. But we're not. I'm not a policy expert. I'm not a tax expert. I'm not an expert in any of those things. So they're all of us. There are views that are own from the work that we did, like researching this stuff. So that's the grain of salt you should take with everything.
You're technically only the real super ultimate educated person here on this channel right now. I mean, you're like,
but not on this
Mr.
stuff.
PhD. Come on.
But you don't want to hire your plumber to do surgery, right? So,
but that's all I am. I'm just a plumber, so that's why you can't take my opinion.
My PhD's in this one little thing on spine biomechanics, not crypto, not finance, not I'm at the same level as anybody else.
Meeks is just quiet. He's the real smart one here.
Yeah. Why would you do that to me?
Yeah.
Why would you do that to me?
He's staying out of it now.
I think in every context, like we try to explain everything we can. So obviously, sometimes I guess it's obviously will happen that we can be wrong, or we can sometimes take assumptions. And I think in the context of article like this Project Crypto, you will see that what the chairman is talking about, sometimes he's kind of calling out the previous administration's decisions and all that. Yes. And obviously that's not an official, that's not an official position from the SEC. Like that, that can't be.
Right. So
you kind of ripped the
today's super exciting though. Like we this year we've been talking about the move forward on crypto regulation. We had obviously, we had the beginning of the year. We had March 13th or so. There's a big meeting, and I'm shocked. I mean, the Clarity Act and the Genius Act, those two made big news, but I'm pretty shocked about the SEC and CTFC just came out with their two kind of like pursuits of crypto. And I'm surprised how little news it made when this is super clarifying. This is pretty exciting. Even I, who am always curmudgeon-y when the government's getting their fingers in shit, even I am pretty excited about this because it's real clarity. It's the SEC saying this is how we're approaching it, and the CTFC saying this is how we're approaching it. And it's as far as I can tell, most of this is what we want. Like true clarity, and like especially for Divi people, like how many times have we not been able to buy and sell Divi in America? And that's because of the dumb rules and so forth. It looks like those days are over. We're going to be able to list. I think it looks that way. At least that's what the effort looks like. So
that's right.
That's all super exciting.
Yeah, and really it seems that, I mean, of course, it was already claimed when the current administration campaigned for, the presidency. And then they also said that they would do that. But honestly, with governments, you never really know. You always have a surprise that is coming.
Yes.
But and of course, like they will, like all of this framework will favoritize now a very corporate approach to crypto. Because it will lower regulation, it will give easier access, and obviously that's an opportunity that will not be restricted to people who were interested in crypto before. Like that will actually democratize a lot services around crypto, I think. And I think that's great. It really fits into this idea that they want people to build in the US, which is really 180 degrees from what has been for the last decade plus, right? Like everybody has had to build a complex structure, especially around governance, because otherwise they would have ended up in jail, right? And so now they're like, hey, we don't want that. We want you to come here because we want to be the place people build this technology in, right?
And it's still not that, you make a statement about governance, and I'm not going to rabbit hole on that, but the fact is that it's a breathing room, I think, is probably what he expressed. And maybe the whole fanfare about what is expressed here is because it's not in writing, right? Maybe it's not been formalized. And so it is giving a taste. He came to the table. He expressed what he's going to hope to prepare for us, this meal that could be beautiful. I made a joke just a couple of days ago. I said, is this the new ICO phase? And that was, of course, a serious joke. But yeah, this is definitely leaning into, in fact, he even mentions it, the making America great again. It's making America the crypto capital of the world. I mean, that was his exact statement. And that is obviously, that's something that we did lead certain technologies and industries in the US for a long time. And for the last 15, maybe longer years, we've been killing off our industry there. That doesn't mean that like social media hasn't boomed, but even that has become something of a trial and tribulation, getting it out of the US and elsewhere. Obviously, there's lots of different products. So it's just nice to see that. It's nice to see that we're making, or the presentation is making it to where we can do the things that we would like to do, and benefit from making those things available to others. That helps better lives, makes the technology better, makes the participation better. I'm just excited. This was a very positive message. Very, very positive message.
To me, this is what, like, when in the beginning, and you've heard this in other markets, you hear about like first they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Like, this is what winning looks like to me. Like, I feel like this is full legitimacy, and we can build in America in crypto and not worry. Right? That's the way I'm reading this. And so
I agree. But we need a battle. Like the war is not over yet. It will never finish, right? So we have to be really always careful.
Well, what is the war? Because to me, this was it. After that, then it's market penetration. Then it's like how are we making it better so people actually use this shit?
Yes, but we'll have to keep sovereignty, right? Like keeping sovereignty in that journey is the
correct,
war, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
So,
it's just like the whole messaging about the other crypto assets. We talked about the other releases and guidelines that they're talking about for generating stable coins. That's all centralized, right? We already you went off on that.
Yep.
We have to just tread with caution. This sounds very open, but as I stressed with Neegs, as excited as I am about it, I just think, and I think you would agree, Rob, that government will always try to control. And even though this doesn't sound like that, and that again is just my opinion, it sounds very open, but who knows what will happen when we finally see the document, when we finally see the guidelines. Let's do it. Let's do it.
This codifies self-ownership. So I'm happy to see.
Expressing his opinion that's what he would like. Right?
Yeah.
But, I guess you're right.
So you remind that again. So that's true. This is not regulation. However, the next statement, right after he says that the views are his own, he says that this will actually be the SEC's North Star for crypto regulations. So even if the views are his own, right, he's still saying, as the chairman of the SEC, is still saying that this will be, basically what will be leading the next regulations. And we can really see that when you look at the Genius Act and the Clarity Act. I mean, this all fits very well into something that seems to represent an ideology. And even if government definitely want control, you still have some leaders in some periods that actually are very interested into the market. And I think that's what made the success of US before the 2000s. And then potentially this is the approach that they are laying out now. I mean, that's what it looks like. So yeah, Rob, let's go through all the things. There is a ton of things.
Yeah, so much. Well, the overall goal, right, is to get crypto back into America. It's still pretty strong here, but it's filled with friction. So the idea is like, if people want to build crypto stuff, they build it here, and that's Trump said that from the beginning. Like even last year, he was saying that. But now let's get not just rails on what you can and can't do, but like they're trying to push it. And so that, I mean, I haven't seen anything like the oil industry gets, like grants, but and yay, let's keep it that way. But but really, we want to really develop this so that we can America. So we have an economic layer for the world, but it's American, right? Is running it, is most of it. So that's really what the goal is here. That's the way I've always seen crypto. So that's good. That's the major goal, right? And so you got the CTFC and the SEC. Those are the two things that really SEC is more important, that are guiding and providing for this. And so really, we're not looking at what's in the past. Why don't you talk about crypto securities while I try to fix my stupid avatar here?
Oh, you're frozen.
Yeah, no. So first
not
of
quite
all,
frozen. Yeah.
First of all, to support this idea that they want businesses to build in America, basically they are covering a ton of the questions that everyone was having and was trying to navigate around, and some of that is obviously modernize the rules that they have. So they acknowledge that they have a problem with the way the rules are set right now because they don't adapt to on-chain activities like we see today. And so they point that out, right? And they want to make sure that they don't put a ton of rules that will hinder competition, that will hinder progress and competition. And I think one of the key aspects is they talk about reshoring companies. So again, right, this model where let's say crypto projects, they have a foundation that is offshore and then another company that is the dev company, and all that is pretty complicated, but it is to make sure that it is compliant with the current rules. So they want to avoid that. They want to bring back the foundations in US because they also talk about bring crypto asset distribution back to America. So distribution, that means when it's minted and then distributed to stakers or whoever. So they want to rewrite the rules around that, and they want to make sure that it is welcoming to crypto projects. So I think this is really critical because all the staking projects, basically everything that has been happening in the last 10 years that has been actually fueled by a lot of Americans in reality was outside of US. And so they really, with those first things, they really lay out that they want to open the doors and they want everybody to come there.
Going back just a little bit on what you're saying there, you're right. The freedoms are there, and just to put the cherry on top of everything you're expressing, simple things in the statements expressed about securities and the fear that was there. I mean, how many times did we see in the last 8-10 years, right, at that ICO timeframe, did we see people asking, is this a security? Is this? There was fear from the coin owners on whether or not certain things were considered a security or whether or not a blockchain was, because they were going after them. They were literally doing with what he was stressing, which is you're getting these scarlet letters, right? That's his words. You're deemed a security, and then your community falls apart, dies, or as obviously there's other projects that did the video stuffs and they got hammered and lost and struggled to even still survive. It's just not fair the way it's been done. And so, yes, just continuing with the distribution, allowing Americans to participate in these ventures, removing those restrictions, while still, obviously, the SEC is still going to act as not a safe harbor, but come up with guidelines that will hopefully, in their opinion, keep people safe while still giving us more freedom to participate. Not just foundations, but actual coin owners. It's the coin owners that help grease the wheels for the foundations, that help grease the wheels in some cases for building, that help grease the wheels for velocity and trading. We need everyone to have a more open environment, and this reads very well.
Yeah. So let's get more into the details here. The other thing here is that the SEC is actually specifying, making more specification around what is a security and what is not, at least trying to. I don't think they do it in this guideline. I think Howie is always going to be Howie, but I think what happened, Howie was, that came out in 1946, right? And so it clearly couldn't possibly have regulated what crypto is, like the idea of a decentralized asset or a decentralized anything, like it just wasn't the thing. And so I think there's finally recognition that Howie doesn't make sense to apply. It's trying to put, a circle in a square hole. And I think finally that there's some recognition that those are not the same thing. So we can say, like, ICOs can be a real thing, not just like the crypto market made up. Airdrops can be recognized. All those things can be recognized by a government entity, and they can say, okay, we recognize these are things that you can do. Now, who knows what they'll do regarding those airdrops or income airdrops or whatever? I don't know, but at least they will be things that will be in the rule books.
Sure.
Again, codifying what these are.
Their exact words are purpose-fit disclosure, exemption, and safe harbors, including for ICOs, airdrop, and network rewards.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. He actually said those things. It's just
exactly.
It's mind-blowing to me.
That's what I mean by winning. Like, the government is talking our language.
Yeah.
There are definitely people who know a little bit what they're talking about that are.
I'm launching an ICO tomorrow. Just let you guys know.
Well, so there was something funny, because I remember Elizabeth Warren talking about wealth taxes and so forth. There are methodologies that are possible where airdrops are weapons. So as an example, I'll be interested to see what they do about this. So for example, I can create a coin and then put it on a market, and I can spend let's say I'm rich and I don't like somebody, right? I'm rich. And so I spend $50,000 to pump up the value of that token so that it looks like it's worth $1, but I created 1 trillion of them. And then I sent $500 billion to Elizabeth Warren, right? Like, so, at the end of the year where they have to disclose what they got that year. So so public addresses are where, so there's a possibility where I expect to see some regulations about what is taxable, what isn't, what is your fault, because you can't say no to an airdrop. And so that's an odd thing. So it's not like if you want them, but it can be, if they start taxing them in a certain way, they can be used in a I'll call it a violent manner. Maybe it's aggressive manner. I should use it. And so it'll be interesting to see what they come out when they do that sort of thing.
So I think there are situations where the airdrop is random, but most of the time people sign in. They have to sign in to get the airdrop, and they might force that.
Oh, I'm less worried about Joe Schmo. I'm not worried about that person. But Coinbase, and there's a whole bunch of registered addresses. There's tons of them, right? Yeah. And so those addresses, like, or people will create them. Like if charities or political action committees start publishing addresses, send it here. It'll be known where those addresses are, and you can attack this way. So yes, it's a possibility. Okay. Anyway, so let's move on because there's more stuff.
So basically they so as you're right, they're not really saying anything concrete about regulations.
Correct.
However, they clearly say keywords that are very important about securities versus non-securities, and that basically, if you are deemed a security, there will still be some easier way that what you have now to accommodate for basically those new opportunities for the US market, right? And so what is really important is that for crypto securities, what they also say is that for non-security, they say that, so one item is that current trading platform that have securities should be able to also have the non-security asset. So that is kind of the current platforms, I would say, that are probably well known would be able to get the crypto assets. But also what they say is that they want to allow platforms that are not registered with the SEC to actually be trading non-securities, crypto non-securities. So that is very interesting.
It's totally that's totally new. Like if you go to Fidelity, you can't buy Bitcoin there. You can only buy a Bitcoin ETF there. If you go to Kraken, you can't buy Apple stock there, right? So it's crazy that they're calling them super apps that they're paving the way for people or for companies to sell both types of assets. That's that's brand new.
Because the companies that are registered, basically they don't want to touch crypto right now, and the companies that are crypto exchange like Coinbase, they were refused to register, like they were actually called out for being security exchange, while they actually say they are not, right? So here this clarifies that there are ones that should be registered with the SEC and there's some that shouldn't. So it's actually a big win for companies like Coinbase. And we should probably see US-based exchange now that don't have to register with the SEC pop up everywhere, I think.
Yeah,
we will see.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. Let's move on to my favorite thing that he mentioned in here, which is about custody. Yeah. So I don't care about anything else in here, honestly. But the government made it clear, or at least the SEC made it clear, that they want to respect the ability to self-custody. Correct. For me, it's the only thing that I wanted to see somewhere in this. Like there's all this, there's gonna be rules about custody. There's gonna be rules about like decentralized custody or custody and smart contract. I'm sure there's gonna be clarification, all those things. But there was talk about taxing or about banning self-custody. And I mean, maybe it was just to get people riled up. I don't know.
Just look at
but
EU.
It made it clear.
Just look at what's happening in EU. Like they're making it so hard, right? While here they say things like right to have self-custody of one's private property is a core American value.
It's a dig, is it not?
Yeah, of course it's a dig. That's one of the views I express here today are my own. that's one of those. And then he says, believe deeply in the right to use a self-custodial digital wallet to maintain personal crypto asset and participate in on-chain activities like staking. Like this is very, very critical. That those words are magical in a way, right?
Yeah.
So
this is all I wanted to see somewhere that's saying like if you're doing these things, you go. Like that was, and I mean that's exactly, it is a core American value. It's the stuff we are all brought up on. Like, you've got the right to do your own thing and own your own property, and it's always been like that.
Private property, exactly.
And we get antsy when that specifically those rights get infringed upon. Unless you're the type of person who thinks you should have a say in what somebody else does.
In reality, that's the base value, not just of America, but of all the systems that have been like the opposite of communism, right?
Right.
It's like you have your private property.
Yeah.
And so of course, he was looking very scary. And I think it's very important to say that again. It's only because of Trump can see that everywhere else, like with the other kind, the other kind of government that were more aligned with the previous administration, they are trying to restrict it, to take the most control they can. In reality, they will probably just end up behind in the market. Like that will be the only result. But if everybody was aligned, that would be terrible.
I think it's embracing that freedom, right?
Yeah.
You have the freedom to both own your own property and the freedom to do with it as you will, or the freedom to pursue an opportunity.
Yeah.
As we saw in the decade past, we had the changes that happened and the fear that came along with it. Started with securities, ended with custody. It's a beautiful, beautiful song he's singing. So I'm hoping, and you're right, the North Star is their guiding line. I'm just happy that we're not going to be having to look. We can just own our stuff and not have to worry about it. I won't say anything more. I was going to say something I shouldn't say at all, but yes,
I'm probably about to say it. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe. I like the part I just can't understand. Like there's a ton of Trump stuff I hate about him.
Sure.
But what I don't understand is hammers, rocks, and crypto are tools and things that people have always been able to have access to and use however they want. Why did Democrats make this a political issue? This could have been a Democratic document also. Like this, what's his face could have done, Glenn, or whatever his name was, I forgot now. What was the last guy's name? Come on.
I don't know. I don't follow.
Gary
Gensler.
Gary Gensler. Yeah. Like this could have been a document he made. Why is this? Why is
You're
crypto
right.
a political issue?
I disagree. So
he bothers me so much.
Maybe one day they could have, but not the current ones. They're not pro business. They're not pro market. And to be fair, the Republicans either. It's just Trump.
True.
It's just Trump who got there and he's really obsessed by market and has probably a special thing that he actually understands the opportunity there. And I think also to be able to win the presidency, he also had to get allies, right? And he apparently got allies that know pretty good what's happening in crypto and wants to make it a legitimate business and opportunity, because we will see like there is this part about self-ownership, but they also try to clarify things for intermediaries. Like I think everybody knows that most of the crypto, even if we probably regret it, especially in this call, right? But most people, they don't hold their own crypto. They actually trust an intermediary, and with the previous regulations that they put in place and also declarations, basically they got people completely scared. Like staking for others was not allowed. Like it became very dangerous now to be a custodian and do anything with what you have custody of, right? And so basically they address that they want to put a framework for intermediaries to make sure that this doesn't happen again. They actually point out some of the previous regulations, and they say that it was the death of custodial service provider options, right? So I think it is also good that even if probably, again, you and I are not that interested by intermediaries, especially with the side chains that we want. Like basically we're removing the most intermediaries we can. But I mean, let's be realistic. There will always be intermediaries. Like there are some situations where it is a good thing, and basically they acknowledge that, and they want to make sure that they can operate in a safe and open environment. So that looks really good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's that's like, this is the freedom that we've been looking for in Divi. Like that's stuff that they did, particularly our Operation Choke Point, just made it impossible to have a small chain. Or to grow a small chain. It made it impossible. It locked out a huge market, and because lots of people are uncomfortable either with KYC or with foreign markets. And I get it. There's so much crap in this industry because the last administration was just trying to push it offshore as much as they could. And and this is like a breath of fresh air here. So
that's for sure.
That's why it's great.
It was like the Wild West, and then it became like the lockdowns.
Right. Yeah,
it was like
dystopia in America.
Crypto
dystopia.
Came, and it stayed too long, right?
Crypto COVID. Yeah.
Crypto COVID lockdowns came.
Yeah.
And how you can see that's lifting is even in the next statements he was making is licensing simplification, which is nerdy terms for just you can participate in multiple ventures, and they want to prevent. There's states that have different rules, different guidelines. Exchanges don't work in some states, but they'll work in other states. There needs to be a simplification, and that's where he sort of gives a sort of a general answer to this, is that they should have a no pun intended, I didn't mean to say that twice, but a general license that covers all of these kinds of things, so that we can have the freedoms to not worry about that, but also the businesses who want to offer those kinds of things, whether it's custodial or trading or anything.
Yeah, I'm of mixed minds on that in general. I don't like federal licensing, that the power of licensing getting away from states, or the power, I don't like the nationalizing of a lot of things. That said, I have a gun permit, and it's a pain in the ass that I can't use it in another state. I feel like
the special example you should not have because it's constitutional. But anyway,
correct.
So
the SEC is federal, and so is that gun guideline. But then it gets narrowed down at every locale, whether it's California.
I wish the only federal license should be like any state license should be able to use anywhere. That disables
Makes sense.
lot of the state stuff, but it doesn't disable the license in the state. So that's the part that I'm having trouble with.
So look, I think it's especially targeted to financial services, because basically right now, if you want to open financial services, you basically have to ask a license in every state.
Yes,
it costs
that's
a
nightmare.
lot of money.
Exactly.
It is very long, and basically it pushes people away from offering an alternative in the market. And I think the fact that they acknowledge that, I think, is a good thing. And maybe you could have an opt-in or opt-out for states that don't want to be part of that thing, if you want to keep the state freedom. But in fact, a state that would opt out, if the other state are still in, will now isolate themselves from the market. So that would be a bad decision for that state, right? So, interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that's the super app thing. That it's also the licensing for mixed products on
so exactly and so forth. The general license, the super app that he's talking about, is specifically, you want, currently, if you want to do one type of financial service, you will have to ask one type of license. If you want to do another type of activity, you will have to ask another license. And so what they're saying here is that you would have like a mega license, if you want, that will cover all the type of services that actually touch the crypto. In fact, I think it's not only crypto, I think it's more general about the SEC's approach on the market as a whole.
Well, you know what that's going to do, right? So that's going to make it so Coinbase and crypto.com and so forth can afford that license and Fidelity, but you and I can't, right? We can't start. It's going to make it very difficult to start.
But now you're talking about money transmitting and all sorts of things, and I guess at what point do we?
Yes, now, no, Neeks. Yes, now that's going to be an expensive license to have.
Yeah, but it's going to be a much easier license to access than obtaining all the licenses over all the states.
An attorney representing you in 50 states.
I mean, yes, but it's just like putting out our new drug, right? That basically costs $500,000 to millions of dollars just to get the license, get it through
for the
FDA,
license.
Right?
We will see. I think
so. I mean, if this is a $25 license, then sure. I highly doubt that's what's going to happen. I mean, because don't forget, the reality is still that this was constructed by the Coinbase and the other, Circle, the other crypto giants. let's not pretend that they're not using this, going to be using this to their benefit, right?
Yeah,
That's
No,
not.
no,
That's
I
not what's happening.
understand, but I understand, but the whole language of this and the other bills that we've seen is actually opening the market, and so
Yeah,
I
for them.
understand that what you're saying is like, even if it was expensive, what you're saying is they're not making it fully accessible, but it's still way more accessible than it ever was, if that happens.
Yeah, it's less
right?
friction, without a doubt. Whether
Yeah.
it's more cost or less cost, I don't know. We'll see.
Oh,
It
yeah,
just,
we will
just
see
depends.
that, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But I guess if you need that general license, you're aiming for a big thing anyway. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Boom. And then the next thing is that they actually acknowledge the difference again in governance, right? Like currently what they talk about is that the current laws, they're not made for things that don't have intermediaries, for structures that have no operator, no people in between, no person that is basically you can go to, is the responsible, is the custodian. There is nothing like that really in the law. And so they want to adapt to recognize that there are systems that are decentralized and there are systems that are not decentralized, and they want a place for both, but they want to have clear guidance about how to welcome basically both solutions. And so
Yeah.
I think it's very important, because it was a great fear that they would bundle everything together. And it looks like they won't. Now, I think we should be extremely cautious about what will be coming there, because as we've seen in the Clarity Act, it seems that 20% was enough for decentralization, like no one with more than 20%. So we'll have to be cautious about what is actually happening, because apparently not because they will over-regulate decentralized things, but they could actually leave the door way too open for things that are not really decentralized.
Right? Yes. Yeah. It's going to be a little bit like when you put natural on your product, right?
Right.
Decentralized. The fear is decentralized doesn't mean anything, right? And when you put natural on a product, it doesn't mean anything.
Most people don't even understand what decentralized truly means, because it's a very complicated topic. And so just like you're saying with natural, what is it? What is it made out of?
What does it mean?
It's all natural. Who cares?
And so when the government, it's true, because when the government took on the organic labeling, right? There used to be 3 different organic ones. They meant 3 different things. But when they took on the organic one, there's 5%, 5% of the fertilizers or insecticides used can still be not organic.
Exactly.
It can be genetically modified. It's not the stuff that you and I would just expect what organic means.
Correct.
And I'd like to add something else, is that we associate centralization with trustless operation, but that word is not anywhere, right? So
correct.
I think that trust minimize is still fitting into a more decentralized system, and so I think the line will have to, we will have to again see how it evolves, where they put the line, because in reality, decentralization, they're saying truly decentralized. For me, truly decentralized is trustless. Right? With no ability to take governance over others. But I don't know how they will describe it. We will see.
What would you use as a word that is between centralized and decentralized? Like, what's the word there?
Trust minimized.
Exactly.
He named it.
Exactly.
Where's the line?
No, but I think there is. I think it's so. I think it's on or off for trustless. But I think the trust minimize is basically a spectrum until it's completely custodial. It's not just on or off.
It's the broadest category, right? In between, it's like these little sections. I think you're
mixing words in ways people won't understand. Centralized and decentralized people understand, and then you say trustless. Like, now you've gone on to a different thing. Like that vernacular is going to be difficult to.
So the decentralization is about governance, right? And the trustless is about the technical operation, where there is no one that has the control.
So in vernacular, decentralized can be multiple things. It can be governance. It could be how the funds are deployed. It could be how mining is deployed. Like if I think about Bitcoin, the fund allocation is pretty decentralized. I think the largest ownership is like 1.3% or something like that. But the mining is less decentralized. The pools, there's one that owns 30 something percent. But the connections between all of that stuff, in fact, the governance is also the governance itself.
But all that is governance,
of
right?
Miners. Fund ownership is governance? Not.
So fund ownership, it depends if it has like proof of stake, for example.
No, I'm talking about Bitcoin.
It is fully governance. Okay. Yeah, but
Bitcoin
otherwise... What?
Fund ownership in Bitcoin can be decentralized and have nothing to do with governance. Fund ownership in Bitcoin has nothing to do with governance.
Yeah, but I don't know what you mean by fund ownership decentralized.
I'm saying that the largest amount of ownership of Bitcoin is something like 1.2%. It's very low. It's very decentralized.
Yeah. No, so I think this is distributed, right? I think this is different, right?
So in network schema, decentralized and distributed mean different things. In fund ownership, I'm not sure there's a difference in those two words.
Okay. So because I think
this conversation is exactly one of the problems.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant, right? The trustless is not there. Distribution is not there. It is for the distribution of funds, but not about network distribution.
Yeah.
So these will have to be clarified. And if they don't, then they will be through like suing people, right? Like that.
Yes,
that's what will happen, right?
Yeah, right. Yay, new places to sue. So the other cool part that I like is that they recognize that it's hard to start a blockchain project and stick a bunch of red tape that you need to do this stuff. And so I like that they're creating an idea of, I think the CTFC is also kind of doubling down on it, of a sandbox. So they also recognize that when you start a blockchain, it's fully centralized, right? So if I start a new blockchain, me and my friends are putting out the first 20 nodes, right? That it's centralized completely. And with time, it grows more as you grow a project. So I think there's good recognition now that this is a reality. And when you start a blockchain, or blockchain projects that start can be taken out of the regulatory framework up until some point, until they can, maybe when they show decentralization, certain rules happen. They declare it, is the idea there. And then if they don't, I guess it, depending on how much money is involved, I guess it goes into a different framework. Which is why I think they put the threshold at 20%, so that companies like Circle or whatever can say, "Yay, decentralized," when it may not actually be.
so this is not in that text, right? I think it was in the Clarity Act, which is still probably going to change, because again, it has to go to Senate and
both of those. Yeah,
but it all shows that all of this is aligned, and then finally they also the chairman also actually talk about exemptions, right? So one of the thing in cutting edge technology is that you can try to build the best framework you want. Something new might just not fit in that new framework. So they already prepared to have some exceptions, so that people who have things that do not match with the framework that they design can still innovate, can still bring new things in the market, and then be granted exception, either until the regulatory framework is improved, or until they can fit in one of the categories that
he mentioned. Something that fits what you said. Remember, it was early on in the speech, maybe it was midway, but he had stressed that there's going to be positions, even decentralization, even in licensing, even in user choices in crypto securities or not, that when a blockchain is new, it is obviously it can't be decentralized yet. It's just like Satoshi. It was Satoshi and Hal. How centralized was that? It was just Satoshi mining with Hal. That's two people. That's not very distributed. It's not very decentralized. And so they need to develop sort of a guideline that realizes that when you have a new technology, it's not going to fit either of those, and there's a growth to that technology, and they need to embrace that so they can embrace that innovation, which is also where Trump has always been leaning into exemptions, boosting innovations. He has been able to leverage, although some will call it loopholes for almost everything, but you could call it freedoms of opportunity that are planned in new innovations that are coming or current ones that you can take advantage of. And we shouldn't restrict anybody or anything in this area that is trying to make something good and new. I think that's just beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, it's but historically they do, because good new is often good and new, but the new is often is sometimes like bad. And
sure,
that's the last administration, right? They're trying to control all the bad, and it's a nuclear bomb that they plopped on there, and so it controlled all what could have been good too. Whereas these guys are taking I think they're recognizing that most of it is not bad, and and so let's help it, and then we'll deal with the bad on its own. They've always been able to deal with the bad. Fraud, theft, those things are always been illegal. Like it's not special to crypto. And so they could have been prosecuting that stuff and focusing on that stuff and using ledgers in court to prove that it was theirs. I mean, I've never really understood this aspect of it, of trying to control.
Imagine all the money that has gone in other countries, paying other people in Cayman Island, in wherever in Central or South America, and because they were forced, because American builders were forced to do that, right?
Yes.
So,
so dumb.
so yeah, I mean, it is really great that it is coming. And then, as you were saying, the CFTC is actually also published basically a statement where they announced that they will, I think, do Project Sprint and Crypto Sprint, and then they will basically announced that they will support the plan from the SEC, and they also remind that they actually initiated a bunch of things. Maybe Rob, you wanted to talk about it?
Yeah, so I think the big one, really, because RWA is really growing in our industry right now. A lot of people are doing it. RWA is real world assets, so these are tokenized assets. I've seen everything from tokenizing real estate to tokenizing a meteorite, tokenizing. I'm sure if it hasn't happened already, people will tokenize themselves. And so you laugh, but I read a whole book on that. So
really? I'm sure. Tokenize your branding of yourself.
But you could tokenize your baby, right? And then the people who own those tokens help them after college or pay for college or whatever, but then they get a piece of future earnings is the idea there.
What do you mean? So, your baby, you already sell some of his future income?
You can do that.
That sounds great.
There are those who think the government's already doing that to us.
Yeah. Or, you're leaving college and you're saying, here are all my assets, and you do an ICO for yourself and try to raise money. And then you yourself, this is the consent part. If your parents do it, it's not really consent, right? Right. But if you do it yourself, here's my skills, here's my thing. I'm tokenizing myself. You'll get this much of my future revenues. Blah blah blah. That's
you could do that as an artist. Hey, we do music. If you want to support us, you will get part of our future revenue or whatever.
Yeah, but you can do it just as a college graduate. You pay off your college.
True.
Now this is your revenue going forward. I expect to make these are my goals going forward. Pay for a token.
What a great word we are going to.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting I endorse any of this. It's just stuff I've read. And so, but it's a possibility. Anyway, the CTFC is the one who are going to be dealing with that kind of stuff. So tokenized collateral, tokenized commodities, we're going to, all the RWA stuff is going to be CTFC controlled. And they are also talking about, the guy's name is, the guy's name is FAM, PHAM, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so they're going to be working on that, the commodity side of crypto things. Now, one thing I do want to mention, especially for with regard to sidechains and so forth, is that all of this stuff is blockchains that where they're putting, either they're the asset, or you create a tokenized asset on, or a token to do the thing, all that kind of stuff. Like in our model, you can do all this stuff in crypto. You can do things that record, records and so forth that don't actually have values or inventory or whatever, and all that utility you don't need a new token for. And so if you deploy blockchain services without having to make a second token just to do the thing, it kind of gets out of a lot of this stuff. And yes, this is better, but it's still regulations and so forth. But just like, catching rainwater and drinking it, except I guess in some places, in some states, you should be allowed to do that. And so if you're not doing it, you can still provide ledger-based services, but not create a token for it, and still do everything that you might do. I can't think of all of the things. It could be IP. It can't be RWA because that's specifically tokenizing tokens for sale for something. But there's tons of things that you can do as an economic and storage layer for yourself or as a business that really doesn't. None of this stuff applies for it. And the Divi service chains the Divi side chains is one of the things that that enables that sort of thing. And it's completely different than what this framework is applying to. So that's kind of an interesting aspect.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? I think globally, all those regulations that are coming are the best we could expect for a system like the sidechains that are coming, because it can adapt. Welcoming. So first of all, it was already a big advantage that it can adapt to anything. So it could stay away from bad regulations. But then with that, it can actually adapt and give the perfect form for anyone who actually wants to start an on-chain business, right?
Yeah.
And so that really is great. And honestly, for the whole industry, not just
that hammers it. Everything that we're talking about, and you just nailed it, is geared towards the freedom to deploy a project, whether it's for your business, whether it's utility there, or whether it's for your community, whether it's to connect businesses together to utilize that technology. There was a lot of uncertainty before this was expressed.
Yeah.
Who was liable? When is it a security? All of these things are at least expressed positively, that they're going to warmly welcome opportunity and innovation. I think that's
right.
That's a huge thing for Divi. It's a huge thing for all of it.
We don't have the exact rules, but the previous guys were telling us no. And now they're basically telling us, we understand your complaints and we will build things to adapt to that. So it's much better.
It's also a good thing for our partner who's building, right? It's so you have Divi. This is a Divi updates. We speak about this. It's great for our community. It's great for each of us as coin owners. It's great for all of us who participate in the future utility. But also we're expecting future utility to come from somebody who's going to help augment and update the blockchain. That gives them a lot more freedom. So I think we have a full, well-rounded. This is just beautiful. This is just beautiful. And I'm saying that about government regulations, which I'm not known for saying beautiful about.
Yeah.
But maybe because
it's as good as we can expect. I guess
proof
will be in the pudding. We'll see when there's actually regulations that come out around this. But so far, that's really the update on that. I'm shocked it didn't make more news than it did. But I guess it is what it is.
It is because it's not formalized. That's why.
I think so. Yes, it's just a statement.
But they talked about Genius Act
crazy statement
where those were formalized. They talked about. It's weird. Let's move on.
Yeah, because I think it's the most in-depth like communication about it, right? About the whole strategy. So yeah, I agree with you. But hey,
totally.
Bitcoin hit back 121,000. I mean, now it's back at 119. But
it bonked its
it
head
did for
and
a
then
second.
jumped up above.
Yep. So
the market
is moving up. That's okay. No, this week also even Divi got a little energy.
Right. So the altcoins are still slow behind, right? But there are some that have woken up. And I think, yes, you're right. Divi woke up yesterday. I mean, as usual, we're recording a little bit earlier than when you see the video. It's the 12th right now. And so yesterday we saw that it woke up already. I mean, I'm not surprised that some people are basically placing their bets based on what is coming, the marketing, and basically talking about a larger audience than what we have had in the last month and years. So I think, I'm not surprised that it starts to move now.
Are you saying there's some speculation going on?
Saying this is crypto.
I mean, also like we need a new exchange, right? And so
so let's
so I'm going to bring
the
it
issues,
up.
right?
I didn't mention it to you guys. I'm going to bring it up, and you guys can poo-poo it all you want. Obviously,
oh no,
there is no, I won't. I'll stop now. Should I stop now?
Go ahead.
Anyway, so Rob, you've talked about some exchanges. I'm writing some docs for some exchanges, but I'm just wondering. I haven't said anything to either of you, so if you cut it out, I get it. But for an inexpensive exchange, do we even talk about or engage upon what could be potentially the risk with no KYC at this point, especially with those the document that was just released from the SEC?
Right. So
I guess I'm not familiar enough. I mean, I understand the idea around no KYC. I'm not familiar enough with the exchange.
Let's talk more broadly about the new exchange situation, right?
Sure.
So let's remind that the biggest issue for us is to find a place that is welcoming for all our community, right?
Yes.
And very clearly, a lot of exchange have had issues with U.S. customers because of U.S. regulations, right? That has really none of us to be in between that. However, it is creating friction that we're trying to address. And so that's why we went to ZEGX. And
correct.
But then, of course, when you do that, you also have the risk that are associated with that. Because when you go to a smaller exchange, unfortunately, if they get an issue, they are less likely to be able to absorb the problem
Correct.
and then just go down with your liquidity. And this is basically what happened with ZEGX. The foundation lost something like $11,000, I believe, that was in the liquidity there last time we checked. And so listing on a new exchange would mean selecting one, taking the risk, finding one that is, again, like accepting US customers like no KYC does, and then also providing liquidity again, right? Paying the listing fees. And so basically this is a cost. So we have to think about that. If the marketing works as intended, and as apparently some of our community members are betting on, then I think we should be able to afford that, right? So that would be interesting to integrate that. It's not that much, but we need probably something like $10,000 to $15,000 to pay the listing and have enough liquidity for people to be able to trade and not, be stuck because they have nothing to buy or sell on. So non-KYC is a possibility. It is pretty much the same interface as ZEGX. I understand that there was a link at some point. The link between the two was pretty complicated, though. There's a lot of rumors. So this is an option.
I don't have an opinion because I don't know enough about them. I personally, I would rather find a small American exchange and see if we can get on there. That would be my favorite. I don't know how many people in America. I mean, they were definitely all scared off. But if we can, maybe now or soon, American folks will start making exchanges.
So to be able to do that, so we're not the founder of the project, right? We're not in control of this project. And so one limitation of that is that the documentation to be able to register on a US exchange that would have to follow basically all the rules that we've seen, right? We would have to provide some documentations that we don't have, right? And obtaining documentation has been pretty complicated with the leadership of Divi, like the ownership, or I don't know how we would say that, the management of the foundation. So it's not like it's not happening. We have a pretty good contact, but it's complicated. It was done a long time ago. There have been a lot of people that have interacted with the project over time. So it is very complicated to gather all the pieces. So to be able to do that, I think we would have to go through a phase where a new foundation would be created. I think there would be some more work. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe. I mean, like, I'm not talking about getting on Coinbase. I'm talking about, I don't know that they exist yet. I'm talking about, like, with this happening, I expect to see smaller exchanges to start showing up in America and get on one of those. I'm not saying
I would hope
it exists today.
Sure. But those who comply with US regulations, and the problem I see is that we don't have the documentation to prove that DE currently complies with that framework.
What's the documentation that Bitcoin has for that? Like, who's the foundation for that?
There is no founder in charge of the project right now.
Question.
We are a controlled coin by community only. I mean, that's just like Bitcoin. It's the coin owners, it's the miners.
Is the ones who published the last core, right?
Yes, but even the core itself that was published through funding by the community.
So, I definitely wouldn't turn that idea off just because.
No, you're right. You're right.
Truly decentralized project.
Of course, but it's that thing where, I mean, if I remember correctly, in the Clarity Act, it seemed to say that you can just declare that you are decentralized, and then the onus is on them to prove you aren't, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't prove can't prove centralization looking at the community. You can only see decentralization at that point.
Yeah, of course.
We're just volunteers. We aren't in charge of the project. We may be working with the partner, especially you at this moment, trying to do these kinds of things. And even the partner isn't Divi. The partner will help upgrade the core. And that's the key thing. The community has to update their nodes when that happens. So it's just like in Bitcoin Core, when they update the software, there is an adoption that happens that is driven by a specific protocol, which I won't go into the nerdly stuff, but we've talked about it, that after a certain point, the adoption by the actual coin owners, wallet owners, and miners that are running this core, it updates. It is completely open, meaning that it's based upon our external participation. So even a core in Bitcoin may not get adopted, just like Divi, as the updates come in the core that augment it to make it so much more powerful even than it is today. If the majority updates it, that proves the decentralization. No matter who does an update. If you update it, if we all do it, we prove our vote by installing it and running it. That's what Satoshi wanted.
I mean, in reality, it is following those metrics. So we would
Correct.
see, I mean, I don't know, like those regulations are not in place yet, right? It's just an interview. And I hope that we will, and I think honestly we will have other platforms before. I mean, again, if this marketing strategy is working, we will be, starting the second fundraising towards the second month, and honestly, if that works, we should be able to organize a listing in those weeks. I mean, it can happen pretty quickly, if the success is coming and people are, we are able to reach people with the new direction that Divi set forth with the partner. I think that it should start the machine, right? So that's pretty much what we are trying to do until the partner is ready to kind of put a rocket behind us.
Yeah. Let me address the partner for a little bit, because I have to go traveling with them again. I know it's like, I recognize that it's been a long time. And it's frustrating when I see, Story blockchain gets like $80 million and like
crazy.
When you're watching the investment news, and you see like $50 million for Layer Zero, just got $50 million again. And like, to me, I'm just looking at it as good money after bad. But the reality is, because I go to I see a lot of founders, I talk to a lot of founders at all these events. The reality is that funding is still very difficult. There's a lot of people who claim they're a VC. There's a lot of people who say that they're funding pre-seed. And then like the joke in the industry right now is like, these guys are actually all broke. And so they've either deployed capital, or they've or they're just lying, and they're just waiting for better stuff to happen. So it's been frustrating for me too, like watching this, like go pitching at all these different places, talking with different venture capitalists and so forth, that the spigot hasn't opened. I think it's getting better now because people are excited for the next 6 months, but still, I'm as like, we've been doing this. We've been talking about the partner for like a year. Has it been? Maybe a little less.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
A little more.
A little more.
Because you went with them the first event in July.
About a year ago. July, a year ago. And so I understand that it's frustrating. Like, why aren't things going? But the fact of the matter is, if this were easy, you would see this technology in other chains. It's not
everywhere.
Easy. And so that's why this. So it's a hard pitch to make. Do everything truly trustlessly. Get rid of a $200 million industry right now is bridges, and like all that kind of stuff. It's a very different way of deploying blockchain services, and blockchain utility, and wallets are tight, regardless of what you're seeing on there. So I just wanted to lament and join in with the frustration that this is taking this long. That said, things are looking up. The partner is definitely, there are deals with the partner that are happening. There'll definitely be some marketing around there. And anyway, so that's the important stuff to know there.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of opens. We've tried to talk about that in one of the videos where we talk about founders who want to start a new project. I mean, I think it is really a slap for us that I've tried to help the partner push this narrative to see that trustless is not something that is selling much to investors, right?
Yeah.
Like, in reality, they don't really care. What they care about is if it will take the market over, right? And so, I mean, the big chance we have is the sidechain technology is much better than what is currently proposed on so many aspects. But in fact, it also makes things complicated to communicate, because it's so much better on so many aspects that you can't just list all that. Like, you would just lose the person you interact with.
It's
Didn't
very
we make a
difficult to
joke about
communicate
that
this.
last recording, the way that many VCs are, and please forgive me if you're a VC and you're listening, I don't mean well, I'll just say it. A lot of times what we buy as consumers, and this includes VCs, is we buy much of the same. We just buy it in a different color. There's a reason why Mac was successful selling iPhones in every color variation. It's not that we were looking for something new or something unique or something better at all. In fact, they didn't produce anything much better. They freaking just made it in a different color, and it's sold in masses. And so if you're a VC investing in something, and I think you mentioned something you were reading, and there was where they mentioned that, is that if it's been done before or it's being done currently and you have a project that's similar to that, and unfortunately everything is similar to each other, and those similar things get easier money than when you're trying to do it the right way. I think that's just what it comes down to. Apple doesn't have to innovate all the time. They just have to change a freaking color and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Cool. I think we wanted to talk about the events you went to and all that, but I think it's just too long. So maybe next time
We chat.
Like you have a lot of things incoming, right?
Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events upcoming in the next month and a half. So hopefully that should do it for a while.
I mean, as you said, right? In reality, maybe let's talk back that a second. In reality, the investors, the professional investors in this industry, they have Excel sheets where they have all their investments, and basically they're just turning green now, right?
Yeah.
They've been red all along, and they're just turning green now. And there is this window. I mean, if it happens like the other cycles happened, obviously, like no one knows really the length of what is coming for us. But basically, during that period, people will try to place their new bet for the next cycle incoming, right? And so we will be here to help the partner try to find a match for founding, and of course we can't wait to be able to move forward with the sidechain model.
Right.
Exactly.
Sounds good. I think we went through everything. That was a pretty long episode.
It was
a
but
long
there's a lot
episode.
of good stuff.
I have no idea how long it was.
It was long.
Oh, and I mean, go yourself read the this declaration from the chairman of the SEC.
Yeah,
I mean,
one is called Project Crypto. Yeah, one's called Project Crypto. Look that up, and then the other one is called Crypto Sprint. That's the CTFC
put the links.
one.
I'll put the links on the YouTube.
Perfect.
All right, cool.
Sounds great.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much.